asking our internal colleagues to write a thank you note is more meaningful than, you want people who are really committed to the work that you're doing and have an understanding about how people outside of your organization can support that work in any way that is personally meaningful for them. There are many things that can indicate that somebody is interested in being connected at a deeper level with an organization or an institution.
You're listening to The Nonprofit Boost, where double the donation and industry leaders share practical tips to help you grow revenue and boost corporate fundraising at your nonprofit. Welcome, everyone, to the Nonprofit Boost podcast. I'm your host, Immaculate, and today we're delving beyond the ask, empowering the team to be donor cultivators and stewards. So we often silo fundraising into one department, but here's the reality. Donors don't fall in love with your gift officers. They fall in love with the mission. If your program staff, your front of desk team, or your board members don't see themselves as part of the donor journey, you're leaving impact behind. So in this episode, we're getting into the tactical. You'll walk away with a blueprint for turning every employee into a steward for your cause, data cues to watch out for, and a 3-item toolkit that every desk in your office can use. And joining us in this conversation is Jill Anderson. Jill, you've worn many hats over the years, from leading teams and also being part of teams. So can you share a little bit about your experience?
Sure. So as you mentioned, my name is Jill Anderson. I am the Vice President of Development and Alumni Engagement at Moravian University. I'm also a senior consultant with Schultz & Williams. And I do some additional consulting work on the side. And when I'm not doing all of those things to help organizations and institutions move their mission forward, I am in the professional doctorate program at the Lilly Family School of Philanthropy. So I always joke with my team and with those people I'm working with is I have done literally every job in the department. I came in through alumni affairs. I've worked in advancement operations. I've worked in annual giving and stewardship and communication as a frontline fundraiser and corporate giving and grants and foundations. It's hard. You'd be hard pressed to kind of stump me on some of the details and the tactical work that happens in an advancement shop. But I think one of the things that it does give me is a really good overview about how all of those pieces work together. And not only within the department, but also out across the wider institution or organization. Really how you can make all of those connections that can really empower the work that you do as a fundraiser or as an engagement professional. And I think that is really the key component to a lot of the conversation that we're going to be having today.
Yay! I'm excited to have you here just because from that little introduction, you're the perfect one for our conversation today. You definitely have a lot of lenses, and I can't wait to kind of delve into those little lenses and your little experiences and maybe tips on our conversation today. So to get right into it. So many people in the nonprofit world may be feeling a bit icky about fundraising, or they think it's just asking for money, but it's actually about sharing the work. So let's look at how we can bridge that gap from boardroom to breakroom. Jill, can you share how everyone from the very top, so think your board of directors, to the very bottom line, so your non-fundraising staff who aren't probably always connecting with donors, can use their daily work as their mission moments for cultivation and stewardship?
Absolutely. So, everybody across your institution or organization is a fundraiser. They're also engagement officers. So you have to kind of think about them as people who should have a really firm understanding of what your organizational mission is and how people can partner with you. I kind of chuckled when you used the word icky about asking for money. And I joke and I talk about this a lot of times is, I always say my special skill, my secret power is I rarely ask for money. I tell people stories about what is happening at my organization or at an institution, the power of the impact it has on the communities they serve. And generally, I get people so excited, they say, how can I be a part of it? What can I do to support this? And that opens the door for the relationship and for philanthropic support or volunteer engagement. And I think that's a really key component is, you're not equipping people to, understand how to make a stock donation or leave a non-cash asset. Like You want people who are really committed to the work that you're doing and have an understanding about how people outside of your organization can support that work in any way that is personally meaningful for them. And so I always say that, they'll get to a point in the conversation where somebody might not know something. That's when you direct them, to your professional fundraising staff or your engagement staff, and they can take the conversation from there. Other piece that I'll share and why this is so, so, so important. You're absolutely right. People do not give money because they like the fundraiser. They'll give more money if they like the fundraiser. And they trust the fundraiser, but they're coming to the organization or the institution because there's something that's been drawing them to the mission and wanting to be a part of it. And really making sure that we're equipping people to cultivate those relationships. And it's in our best interest as frontline fundraisers that an individual has as many touch points as possible with your organization or with your institution, because that strengthens the relationship. I've been at organizations and institutions where they're like, Jill, that, Immaculate is your prospect. You're the only person that can talk to her. You're the only person that can send her an email. You're the only person that she ever hears from. And I see that as a really big challenge, because you might want to talk to somebody else. You might want to engage in a conversation about a particular area that is of interest to you. And if I'm the block to strengthening that relationship, that's a big problem. So I actively encourage everybody across my institution and organizations to reach out to whoever they want to. Like, that strengthens the relationship with the organization, because what you don't want to do is you don't want to have an instance where somebody's so connected to an individual that, say, that individual leaves, now you've lost that relationship, or that relationship is weakened in some way, because really we're all playing the long game. So I know that, some of the questions in leading up to this is kind of, how can we equip people who are not frontline people, who are not actively, in this space, to do this work? And it really comes down to who's involved. Who are you in the organization, institution? Who are you connecting with? What happened in that interaction? What was the reason for them reaching out or making that connection? And what was the impact? Did you leave that connection with a next step? I frequently say to gift officers and engagement professionals, the goal of every conversation, of course, is the gift, but it's the next conversation. Like, always have it open-ended. Who can I connect you to? When can I circle back? How can I reach you with the answer to that question? And really taking a look at that and keeping it top of mind. And I think those are really kind of, it's easy to remember, who, what, and the impact, and making sure that you're sharing that across the institution, and connecting it with people like me who can kind of carry that, like, oh, you're interested in the theater program. Let me tell you about opportunities that you can engage. Or, oh, you're really interested in that Grateful Patient program. Let's talk about that. Did you know that this program supports, hospice, or, supports our pediatric center? Let's talk about what we can do to tell you about that. And really putting those pieces together.
Nonprofits are always being asked to do more with limited time and resources. Double the Donations virtual summits offer practical insights, expert advice, and actionable ideas to help you grow your impact. Check out the summit calendar and register at doubletheDonation.com/virtual-summits. We'll see you there.
No, you already had so many good points. Like, I wanted to bring up, especially when you're like, you have to make sure you have multiple touch points and like multiple people reaching out. Cause I hear that is a concern, like longevity wise. I mean, there is a turnover in the nonprofit world. So it's like, if I were to leave, like if I'm like the officer and I were to leave, I've just left your organization with this cut off donor, I guess you could say. And then it's so much more work building that bridge again with that donor. So it's just like, yes, guys, the more people that they're interacting with in your organization, the more opportunities that person is probably not going to leave or feel like they've just been, forgotten within all your donors. And another touch point I really liked that you commented about was how you can find, it's good if there's like a lot of people reaching out to you. Cause then I think you had made this point one time as well, that it's really great if a donor can see themselves within your organization. So maybe it's not the gift officer, maybe it is the director, or maybe it is the volunteer coordinator. And it's like, oh, I have the same energy as you, or I have the same mission as you. And then you start talking to them, and it's like, then they see themselves in your organization, which is, again, as you mentioned, makes it a lot stronger, a relationship when they do something like that. So thank you so much for those amazing touch points there. And I'm really excited. And now that you kind of already touched into this as well, you said spotting the signals, or like providing them with the tools to be able to be donors, stewards, and cultivators. And so, we can't expect all our team members to be pros at this, of course, because they're all busy doing their work and they're all doing their work really well. But we want to help them maybe identify donors, and we want to give them like a cheat sheet for them to identify maybe some common donor behaviors. So are there like any specific data points or behavioral cues we should be teaching non-fundraising and even fundraising staff to look out for?
There are many things that can indicate that somebody is interested in being connected at a deeper level with an organization or an institution that people should be aware of. Is this somebody that is showing up at your events regularly? Is this somebody who, always opens your email or, responds to any outreach requests? Is this somebody who has served as kind of an ambassador? Is this the person that you call on the phone all the time and ask, oh, we're putting this event together. Can you show up at it? Or can you outreach to these people? Like, you're going to know your people. I think the other important part here is, and I think this is really important for frontline staff, is make sure that you're inviting your organizational colleagues to those meetings with individual donors so that you can model that behavior and the questions that you can ask. I spend a lot of time with donors and, with administration, with the faculty, with the staff of my organization, because I'm not an expert in their areas. Like, why would I am not an expert in what the chemistry and, the latest advances in chemistry equipment. I am not a, defensive line coach for a football team. Those are things that are not in my wheelhouse, but it's beneficial for me to set up a conversation with somebody who's expressed interest with the football coach, with the chemistry professor, with, our CFO. Like, invite people in so that they can see what you're doing and how you're managing that conversation and learn from it. Because you're going to show them, like, oh, ask the question, like, well, tell us, why you're interested in the football team. What experience did you have? Or tell me why you're interested in what the chemistry department has. And they could go on and tell you this long story about how they graduated with a chemistry degree and, tell you a lot of things about them that makes it a very meaningful connection for a fundraiser, but also deepens the relationship with the institution. Everybody wants to be heard. Everybody wants to be seen. And this is a great way to do it. So really having kind of a laundry list of engagement questions, tell me more about you. Tell me more about why this interests you. I think a lot of times we're very quick to say, well, let me rattle off all the statistics that I have here, or I'll send you an email, with the data. That's not what people want. They want a personal connection with you. So make the effort to find out what they want in order to kind of meet that need. And they might not know what they want in the first conversation. So asking those kind of probing questions can be really beneficial to kind of opening that door. And, it's okay. You don't have to have all the answers, but have a lot of the questions. And that can prove helpful. I also a lot of times encourage people to ask who else they know. So if you have somebody who's regularly showing up at a community event that focuses on the service that you provide, ask them what keeps them coming back, and ask them who else they might know who would be interested. Obviously, if it's somebody who keeps showing up at your events, has a commitment, and there's something that you're doing right, have them bring a friend. And open those doors. He or she might say, oh, I have, my neighbor is really interested. Can I bring them into the next event? Yes, absolutely. They might not know that they can do that. So what other connections do they have to invite into the conversation? And kind of, as I mentioned before, like keeping an eye on those people who are, repeat attendees, repeat connections, the regular voices in the choir that want to stay connected and use them really to amplify what you're doing and invite more people in.
Those are great points, Jill. I was just thinking that, like, especially if you can tell that person's an extroverted person, not only they're probably someone in the community that knows a lot of people, taking it like maybe to another level. Like if they're already someone that can bring people together within the community, I'm thinking like they're probably someone within their own companies that can like, they aren't scared to talk out and reach to their HR, talk to their CEO about, hey, I want to help out this organization. You think I could be someone that coordinates it and then connect you guys with a nonprofit? Like, I feel like that's one way you can definitely use that kind of person, correct?
Absolutely. Absolutely. Everybody wants to brag about what they're doing in their off time.
That's true.
Like everybody wants to talk about the amazing organization they support or the great school that they went to, or the athletic team that they're a fan of, or, whatever that might be. Everybody wants to talk about it and brag about it and invite other people into it. That makes them feel good about what they're doing. That makes them feel valued. And it also empowers them to do for you continuously. And I think that is a really important point. So I think those are, kind of, you talk about like the three things, like, be ready with some engagement questions, and prepare people. I do prepare. I treat in many ways the people within my organization very similar in preparation for those calls as I do with the donor or the volunteer that they're going to be engaging with. Like, here's how we're going to manage the conversation. Here's what they express their interest in. But I think they might be interested in these three other things. Be prepared that they might ask questions about these and be inquisitive about why they're interested in those things. Again, making those voluntary connections. Who do they know within their neighborhoods, within their employment, in other organizations that they're involved in that might be interested in participating, and pay attention to those people who keep showing up because they're telling you something without telling you something.
Exactly. I love how you put that together. Thank you so much for that.
Sure.
Well, moving on to our third question. Empowerment is great and then equipping your team is a lot better. So you wouldn't ask a carpenter to like build a house without the right tools. So to put this in a fundraising perspective, we want every single employee, regardless of their title, to be a steward. And so what are some of the tools that are maybe in their arm's reach that you could recommend? So maybe physical or digital tools that you recommend for every single employee in a nonprofit team? Would you guys have any recommendations?
I have a laundry list of recommendations. But I will try to keep it to like kind of the top group for this conversation. Please use every opportunity to celebrate fundraising and engagement success, not just within your teams, but across your organization and across your institution. Because a lot of times what happens is because fundraising and volunteer engagement kind of sits outside of the operational aspect of your nonprofit, people think, oh, it happens out there. It's not in here. Like it's not doing the operational, the service delivery, the human resources is not doing that. Actually, it is. So you want to make sure that you are regularly kind of sharing successes. I'm not saying, announce Jill Anderson made a $7 million gift. Like, no, you're not going to do that. You can say, Jill Anderson made a very significant gift to our organization. Tell me about Jill Anderson. What's her gift going to go to? Like, make it accessible and show how it's relevant to them and how it impacts the organization's mission. So I always say that it's kind of like one tool that development and advancement teams can use is don't keep it a secret. Don't keep success a secret and show how it is relevant back to the larger organization. Because then when somebody interacts with Jill Anderson, they can say, I heard you made a very significant commitment to this organization and we are very grateful. And let me tell you a little bit about, what we're doing here and how supporters like you help us. Like they also want to tell what the impact was. I include donor recognition as part of my weekly reportables out to the entire campus community. So I share, we got a gift for a capital improvement from this foundation. I don't disclose amounts. Obviously, if somebody wants to be kept anonymous, that's obvious too. But I will share out that, we got a gift from this foundation to do this renovation in this particular area so that that area knows it, but also recognizes the foundation internally. Or this individual made a gift to an endowed scholarship to support a student in a particular area or with a particular criteria. again, so people understand that there are those options. And now a student is going to come here and has financial support for the work that we do. And I think that, again, kind of keeping it front and center to the rest of your organization really makes it not as mysterious or icky. or it makes it seem a little, it normalizes it, it democratizes kind of what we're doing here, and that there is real impact from everybody's touch point. I also, as part of that recognition, in our regular, if there was a key member of the internal community, say it was a staff member, administrator, I call them out. Like, in huge thanks to Sally, we were able to close this gift that's going to do X. Like, so again, we're drawing those connections in, and people will be like, well, what did Sally do? How'd she do that? How was she helpful? And then we could say, well, this is how Sally was helpful. You can be like Sally. And then also, we actively engage our entire community in thank yous out to our community, because out to donors and volunteers. And, it can be as easy as, a donor has supplied funding for a programmatic fund, and this is how the art department has used it, or this is how the community foundation has used it, or the civic association has used it. Like, kind of asking our internal colleagues to write a thank you note is more meaningful than the tax receipt that they get that says thank you for your gift. It's very different if you're getting it from a program director, from a faculty member, from a student saying thank you for your gift. This is what it did for me. This is how it changed my life, or changed the way I work, or provided resources for me to be able to do that better. We do that as obviously thank you notes. We do it as emails. We do grativids a lot of times. Very easy to do. It's a video platform. Thank you, Grativid. There's a few vendors out there that do it, where you take your phone and, you can take your phone, do a video and say, thank you so much, Jill, for your gift. I'm standing next to the chemistry equipment that you helped support. And again, it makes it real for them and makes the relationship real and not so mysterious. And I think that's another way that has a real impact on the donor experience and is really able to leverage what we do in order to cultivate them for future gifts.
I love that story that you shared about sharing it internally, because in a previous company I used to work for, they actually had a newsletter internally. And so that's how I actually figured out that we even had a nonprofit in my company that we help. And I was like, and then that's how I reached out to them and be like, how can I help that nonprofit out? So I was like, okay, so those newsletters work, guys. Those internal newsletters work. And I also got to learn a lot of like my employees, like my coworkers who are making those missions happen. And I was like, I didn't even know she was doing this outside of her work hours. And I was like, that's amazing. And so I was able to reach out to her and be like, how can I help you with your mission as well? Like, that's connected to us. I was like, that's amazing. So I'm really glad you were able to share that little story about those internals and the thank you notes. That's so cute though. The videos, I think I'd be so surprised to get a video. I think that'd be so sweet. Cause like a letter is also great. A personal letter is great, but just having that facial recognition of like, there's an actual human behind my impact is really, really nice to hear. Yeah.
Yes. I have pulled our president, I've pulled faculty, I've pulled staff to like, let's go down. We're going to go do a video right now. Like,
yeah, and it doesn't even take that long.
It takes
probably like 30 seconds.
If that, like, it's super quick. I tell, like, here's who we're thanking, here's why you're thanking them. And, that you look forward to, they're going to be on campus next week, or, they're going to be involved in this, or you want to make it personal. I think is probably any touch point when it comes to donors, you want it to be as personal as possible. This kind of goes back. If somebody made a gift, say to the Career Center, it's great to get a thank you note from me to thank, but it's much more powerful to get it from the program director of the Career Center. Somebody who's actually going to be using those funds to advance a particular initiative. And that in many ways, you can't thank enough. Like I've had people say, well, like, what if they get like 3 thank you notes? Good. Get all the thank you notes.
Like, it's showing that you've helped them 3 times. So it's like,
yeah.
You made 3 times.
Like, stop thanking me. Stop thanking me.
I've never heard anyone say that. So thank you go a long way, guys. Oh, I love that. Well, we've covered the mindset, we've covered signals, and we've covered tools. But as we all know, the hardest part about transformation is getting started in the first place. So to leave our listeners with something they can do by the end of the month, Jill, do you have any actionable advice that you could share that empowers team members to be cultivators and stewards?
Absolutely. So by virtue of sharing out what you do and the impact that it has on your organization, you're going to find people who are really going to be champions in identifying what I'll call mission moments, like moments where your mission comes alive in some relationship, and they're going to come and they're going to tell you their stories. And I think that in many ways is so rewarding because it's not necessarily like you're, trying to dig through a lot of things. People are stepping up and saying, this is something that really had an impact on us, and we're very grateful for support in this area. And as you continue to promote those, that's going to have a snowball effect. Other people are going to recognize that is very helpful. So, helping people identify, share, spot mission moments, ways that you have advanced the work, they're going to step up. Really empowering the rest of your community to look at those behaviors, again, who is showing up at events, who's always responding to your social media posts, like who's always bringing other people into, kind of your sphere of influence, letting your frontline fundraisers know that, boy, this person is really stepping up. What opportunities do we have to grow that relationship? You don't have to do it on your own. We're all here to help you. And send a great thank you note. Like, I'm a big proponent. My grandmother would be very proud of me. Take the time to identify not only you sending it out as a frontline fundraiser or a member of your advancement team, identify people within your community in which a thank you note would be really meaningful and really stand out. I always say you wait around long enough, everything that was old is new again. Mail is new again. It might take a long time to get there, but it is it's new, and use that, and then other tools to make it personal, either the videos or other ways that you can make that connection are all really important.
I love that point. Yeah, actually, I've just watched a webinar and they said physical mail is getting really popular with the millennials and Gen Z. So guys, it does come around. What goes comes around, guys. So I also loved how you summarized everything because yes, fundraising isn't just one department. It's a byproduct of the whole team, and a whole team that's proud of their work and is empowered to do their work. So when you lower the barrier for your staff to share these mission moments, you don't just raise more money, you build a connection that inspires the whole organization and your community. So again, y'all, thanks for joining us on this podcast. And Jill, thank you so much for joining us and tuning in and honestly sharing so much of your experiences and your expertise these couple of episodes. And for our listeners for tuning into the Nonprofit Boost.
Thank you.
Jill, do you want to share? Did you want to share like how we can reach out to you if ever?
Sure. Anybody can reach out to me on LinkedIn. That's probably the most direct way to reach me. I also want to thank you because you can never say thank you too many times. So thank you, listeners and viewers for joining us. And, I hope you've learned a little. I'm happy to share, I've shared a lot of successes, but I've made a lot of mistakes along the way. So I'm happy to share those too. Please learn from my mistakes so you don't have to make them. But I'm very grateful for this time and this opportunity to share with the wider community. The work that we do is so incredibly important, and know that you are not only appreciated for your time here, but for what you do every single day in this space. So thank you so much.
For everyone tuning in, for more fundraising topics and expert insights, feel free to follow, like, and subscribe to be notified about new episodes. We'll see you next time, everyone. Bye.
Bye.
Here's your next steps. Visit doublethedonation.com to explore the tools and strategies that schools and nonprofits use to unlock more revenue through corporate fundraising. And if you found this video helpful, don't forget to subscribe and share the video with your team and peers.